We gathered here to see what exactly. Talk a little bit. This
Okay,
is weird.
Seems like I can't get anything here.
To talk a little bit about, hey Ken, about what we did with the Zenith. So I think we should probably do first an introduction and see. This is who are you?
Ed Crowley.
Okay. And Jen,
Jen Beagle.
what do you do?
I am the social media producer. I do the social media for Zenith. I create the Facebook page. Created the Facebook page. I did the blogger outreach. I did social media marketing for the film. I have what else have I done? a lot. I'm working with the poster and DVD cover designer, kind of the liaison when it comes to anything social media related and media marketing related.
Melissa.
Which camera do I look at?
All of them.
All of the above, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Continue with
That's really tough.
Wow.
Melissa Hudson, one of the many associate producers on Zenith. Hired initially to work with what was going to be an ARG, then transformed into a transmedia experience, and been helping.
What's an ARG?
ARG is an alternate reality game where people actually believe that they are playing a game that exists only online or in an alternate sense. Yeah.
And then it turned into Transmedia?
Turns into Transmedia. Apparently, Transmedia is an up-and-coming trend.
So say Jeff Gomez.
So said Jeff Gomez. And because this was a film and ARGs are, more directly for a gaming community, it definitely made sense to look at it in terms of a story, and a story that existed on multiple levels, not just in the film itself, but before the film premiered in multiple spaces, and hopefully it'll continue after the film.
Cool. Who are you?
I'm Ken Anderson. I'm the web developer, web designer, and art director for the Zenith campaign. And I made approximately, of the last count, over 50 websites. Some of them one page, but a couple of them are multi-page. And I've been with the project, I think, since the beginning, since before it was shot. So.
Yeah.
And I also created a little bit of video content as well.
You also got killed in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm the guy right after he picks up the suitcase with the cross on it towards the beginning, and the camera pans around, and I'm behind him with a gun, like this, and then Al Nimble shoots me in the back of the head and I fall. And I remember we shot that scene about 3 times, maybe 4, and my leg hurt for like about 4 days from that.
I've got an acupuncturist for
Because I actually fell. I wasn't fake falling. I was like landing hard.
So I guess it's method acting, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right. And who are you?
I am Vlad, so I actually I made the script, and I'm responsible that all of you are here in a way. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how we started all this. So if you've seen the film, and hopefully you have, if you got this, it's probably a DVD. I don't know, whatever.
Or maybe it's
Yeah,
right on
or
the web
it's somewhere. But anyways, you hopefully saw the film, so you've seen that there are some tapes. So the tapes were always a part of the film, and it was always the idea to make another storyline that's connected with the film, that goes with discovering the tapes that Ed Crowley left behind. So that's kind of where we started. And from there on, we developed this whole other storyline, which at first we didn't know what to call it. And like Ken said, actually, Ken was the first one to be involved with the team. And we started doing this at the same time as we were shooting the movie. And then we realized that that's total insanity, because we had a very small budget, so we had to concentrate really on shooting the movie. But as far as I can remember, I guess we had meetings. There was a whole team of people, and we can mention some of them who are not here today. There's Alan, Anthony,
Anthony, Andrew, Gabe, and John all
Right.
deserve a thanks
Yeah.
for some of the work towards the beginning. I might have left out somebody.
Yeah, and then we also Lisa and Nestor later, who did the design for the whole yellow design of the like actually this stuff, right? So that
this,
or so that they came up with the visual identity for the Stop Zenith, and it grew out of the whole idea of making a conspiracy blog, and that was first actually Ed's blog, which I actually will let you guys talk about this, because I guess it was more that you came up with the idea of making it like an actual blog. So not only in terms of how it's written, but also how it looked. So it looked kind of.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my experience, conspiracy theory blogs and websites always have this sort of early 90s template look, and I wanted to give him probably the cheesiest looking website I could come up with. So I put stars in the background, and then I also made the fake CrowleyLocks.com locksmith page, which was his, and which actually got quite a few phone calls towards the beginning, but especially towards the end, before the film came out.
We got a phone call in the production office asking for a locksmith to come over. that first day, do you remember that? Yeah.
Right now
first day.
the phone number is mapped to my cell phone, so I get a lot of messages on there, and usually they're hang-ups. But once in a while I'll answer, and someone's looking for that. So that's really, to me, where the game starts. That was the first website, was CrowleyLocks.com, and then at the bottom it says, if you have any information on Zenith, click here, and then it's this blog with quite a few lengthy posts written by John, and a lot of it's interesting stuff, like kind of original conspiracy theory about fluoride and all kinds of things, with sprinkled in with Zenith, mentions of Zenith being behind all of these things, and that was the beginning of it.
Yeah,
that
because
blog.
so I guess what we did is we took a lot of the stuff that's out there that people are already talking about in all the different conspiracy sites, steering away from the completely insane ones, because there are some of those as well, but and kind of putting in these notion of Zenith, which actually never explain what it really is, and it is kind of could be many things depending what you read into it. So that was the beginning, and then I think the second part was the Conspirist, right? That came about initially as the website, and all that was still happening while we were shooting the movie, which I forget even whose idea that was. That was
there was somebody involved for a little while. That
Right.
was his idea, but can't remember his name. But yeah, the idea behind the Conspirist was originally to make a website about conspiracy theorists.
right,
And it started that way, and then
like a celebrity website for
kind of like
conspiracy theories.
like
the
Sun
initial
Magazine
idea, yeah.
following Alex Jones
Right.
around or something. It was a lot of work to maintain that, so it more became just a blog, kind of just a side blog for Ed's, but very much more focused on Zenith, where Ed's kind of blog was meant to be a static site. He just went missing, and we would never touch it again. Where this one, we would kind of try to update as much as we could with new theories or current events, and all current events were, of course, caused by Zenith.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of
Yellow
also like a
Spill.
hit and miss approach, right? Where we tried different things. Some things worked better than others, and I remember we did this video actually with you, where you were
The
Mr.
Christmas
Father,
video?
yeah, Father Christmas, right? So
Right.
that was another thing we did in the beginning, where you did a few videos as Ed Crowley ranting about different things.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
strange. Well, was winging it, and I sort of was in on what was going on, but certainly not to the depth that these folks were, because they were really the they were the engine. I was strictly a hood ornament, and so we would go down to the basement of the production office, and Ken would say, okay, set up a couple of cameras and say, okay, well, here's a general outline, just go. And so I would, I'd go over it and then, wing it, sort of improvisational style. And it was really hard to, figure out whether I was in balance. I mean, I wasn't in balance, I was off balance. And so it was a really kind of a strange, I didn't feel, it was hard to, it was kind of out of context from the character because we hadn't fully shot the film yet. Right. It was sort of just the beginning of shooting it, so I didn't have a frame of reference with which to do the, do the character like riffs. That said, it was brilliant.
All right, so I guess that was the beginning, and then we put this together, and then we kind of let it. That kind of stayed like that for a while. We kind of maintained it right during the shooting and so on. And then the second stage, as far as I remember, was that we developed the whole maze of different sites, and that was kind of where we started really.
Right, that's where Lisa and Nestor helped out the most, and that's where this branding came about. Was kind of in the second phase of. We were really looking at the anonymous group as kind of an inspiration for this,
right.
and the protests and everything, and we thought it really fit in well. At first, I was thinking of like guys with ski masks running around the city, but this really seemed to work.
There are a few dangerous ideas
I
at
had
some points, yeah.
But this one seemed to work out well, and it became basically a maze of Stop Zenith everywhere, with this really cool branding, and the Conspirers kind of became a part of that, and I think that was one thing we needed to do, is consolidate everything into one area. Mm-hmm. So all these Stop Zenith sites kind of they all led into each other and out, and they were all very much the same website in a way.
Right. So at that point, that was still where we called it the ARG because we didn't have a better term for it, although it was a lot of things actually rolled into one. And I guess so that's kind of where Melissa comes in. And we started taking this to the next level. And what happened next? I don't even remember now exactly.
I think we talked about how do we get it out to the public, right? I mean, there's two sides to the experience, and who we needed to involve to help it get it out further. The Conspirers was doing really good. I mean, in terms of total hits, the site was getting lots of good hits, mm-hmm. and getting traffic through that. But, determining who to partner with. And I think we came up with, what bloggers and websites can we partner with. And we got really lucky because the biggest conspiracy site, Above Top Secret, responded really positively to everything that they had seen that Ken had built to date, and the overall premise of the film and the Transmedia experience. So we brought them on as a partner and started there, and then we reached out to other bloggers and other sites as well.
And then I guess, so you came.
Yeah, I did the blogger outreach, and I created the Facebook page. I took over the Facebook page, and I worked on the Twitter feed, which had been created and nothing had been done with it. And we started linking Conspirers to Facebook, to Twitter, to try to start tapping into the social media network, because we were now contacting these bloggers, and we figured we had a good platform to reach out to, the online community, get the bloggers involved. So we got some decent sized blogs that posted our trailer, posted the Transmedia idea that we had going on. We had a bunch of assets that we wanted them to take over, and they would link back to our pages. And I think it was a really good concept. We really just outreaching and getting a community. In fact, Zenith, the film Twitter feed gets 2 to 3 new followers a day. So, which is really great because people, somehow finding, I guess, we used SEO properly, calling it Zenith Film, and people see the film tag and it's just, they automatically, link onto it. They don't quite know what it is, but then, we get the conspiracist stuff, conspiracy, and I think it's been a good growth. It's growing as you would expect any social media platform to grow. It takes time, but at some point it starts to leap and take on an organic.
We did some paid media as well to promote the Transmedia as well, which is something that has to happen.
Yes.
And in this case, there wasn't a lot of money to spend, so we had to figure out where to put the dollars. And I think running a Google campaign, a Google AdWords campaign with Stop Zenith and getting people to join the fight against Zenith and focusing on people who might be searching terms related to conspiracy, we were able to bring additional traffic into the experience. And then through Facebook, running the flyer ads, as they're called today, basically with the same message, to join Stop Zenith, which I think helped in growing that audience as well.
Cool. So the other thing, what we did, right, was putting the pieces of the tapes that people could find and edit them together. And there was another new page that was part of it. So basically and that's where I think we came up with the actual term transmedia, or not came up with it, but heard the term and figured out that actually this was exactly what we're doing, because the story started really spreading to various different platforms, and kind of, although it was referencing the film, it was also possible for people to kind of take their own whatever they wanted to take out of it. So that there was the Stop Zenith website. Through the Stop Zenith website, you could come to Ed Crowley. This guy was disappeared, knows something about Zenith. Nobody knows what Zenith is, and then you can find pieces of the tapes that he has left behind and edit them together and post them on YouTube. So that was one part of it. And then the other part was the Above Top Secret and the bloggers and so on, and the competition, right, that they did. So that was an interesting, which was kind of the everything led up to that point, which was the just before. Yeah, the other important thing is, right, that we never mentioned that it's a movie. Up to that point, the movie was called Horizon, right? That was another, and it was listed as Horizon. So Zenith was really not something that existed as a film. And then what happened next? So I don't know, like you guys were involved in Above Top Secret in the whole. I guess Ken was doing this on a minute by minute basis.
So it's something that I have to mention this because I think when I came on, we expected to do like a 4-month ARG, which turned into Transmedia, and then timing. There were a lot of things that were playing into overall timing, but when we finally were like, all right, we're ready, let's go. We thought, okay, this is going to be a good 3-month, program where people are trying to figure everything out, and well, then we launched with Above Top Secret, and it was, literally minutes.
I think it took them. They posted on their site that it was an hour, but I think it was about an hour and a half. That somebody figured out it was a film directed by Vlad, and I guess the interesting thing about it was never meant to be hard to figure out. So it was kind of shocking. Oh, the game's too easy. It wasn't really meant as a game with puzzles and everything like that. Of course, you could. I guess the idea was that you stumble upon this, and so one thing I guess I learned from that was, announcing. When you announce to a big online community there's a big game coming, you're really setting yourself up for a different situation than I kind of was thinking. We would just hide hints of Ed Crowley on their site, and I guess we kind of a lack of communication on that, but it was really interesting that day how many rabid fans were going, just kind of digging through all the sites, and the traffic was through the roof for a few days, and then once they found out what it was, that it was a film and not a real conspiracy, I don't know. don't know how they felt about that. They seemed to enjoy it, actually. I think all the posts had positive reviews.
Yeah.
Should talk about the Z search site, which is
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite personally.
What's the Z search site?
Okay.
Oh, the Z search site? Z search is a research company that's kind of that it's the anti-stop Zenith, if that makes sense. The anti-Zenith. It's they're kind of one of the driving forces behind Zenith that the Stop Zenith guys are protesting against, and they even have similar branding like this yellow Z. So I mean,
It's interesting to point out also that this whole thing now is a whole separate really storyline from the film, because that never gets mentioned in the film. It's not even wasn't part of the story of the film, and this is something that actually came out later from the whole idea of the Transmedia, or the kind of other storyline, the good guys, the bad guys, who are the Z Search guys, who are the guys behind this conspiracy, and the Stop Zenith guys who are trying to stop the Z Search guys. So that was a whole other storyline, I guess, that developed out of the whole web-based story.
right? Yeah, it's just another storyline and just kind of more sort of backstory to what possibly Zenith could be, or what has happened in our time period since
Right.
the disappearance of Ed Crowley, sort of filling in those two different times.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this experience that lived over the summer of 2010 actually took place 40 years before the film. So now the third experience, the first experience is there a name? Just Zenith Transmedia experience? That was the first experience. The second experience is actually watching the film, and then the third experience will be what happens
After,
beyond
right.
there,
Yeah.
way into the future.
So yeah, do you want to talk about that too?
Beyond in the future. Well, I guess right now a lot of our plans
Also,
are
your future.
the immediate future. Our plans are to continue with it and sort of get into. I mean, we kind of did a backstory and some supplemental content with Ed's character, but we haven't done a lot with Jack because we wanted him to. We didn't want anyone to know it was a movie, basically, and also we wanted it to be kind of a surprise as to the content, that it's a science fiction film. It's not a film about Ed, really. It's about him, and then there's this whole future world. So we really want to get into that and be able to expand augment the film's narrative through Jack online. Yeah.
In
You
the
tell
future.
Jack
In the
about that?
future.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the future right now. It's not right now.
We've got Jack's blog going on right now, so that's it's another thing that's interesting, is now we can get into Jack's head with the blog, and start pushing that on through media and social media and through online bloggers. And actually it's another way to reach out is getting other bloggers to like the blog and have other people comment on it. But it's more.
You need to do a new cut of the film.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
so that at the end it references Jack's blog.
Yeah.
That's the sequel. Don't give it
It's
away.
the
That's
11th day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jack's blog is I like Jack's blog. I think Jack's blog is a lot of fun because you can get into Jack's head, and it's a different kind of it's a different concept, because you follow this character through the film, and now you can get into that story that continues on, or back, or forward, depending on the dates on the blog. I think that one thing to talk, I think one thing worth noting is where certain things didn't work and where things did work. I think that was something that I know one thing for me that didn't work was I tried to create all those characters. I had all those characters, and realistically, it's very hard to manage multiple personalities.
But
I don't know how
Facebook profiles. profiles.
Yeah,
characters.
well, that's what it is. We created multiple Facebook profiles and multiple Twitter profiles. We had up to 12 at one point, and they each had a Twitter feed and they each had a Facebook feed. And so as not to mirror all of the content, you're trying to come up with all this different content for each person, and it can get really overwhelming. And you have to realize that if you're gonna try that route and try to have a couple of different people who aren't real to post, you have to really think out, I think, a script beforehand, so you know where you're. I found this really great, social networking option called Hootsuite, which manages your tweets. However, you still have to have an idea, and it did get overwhelming, and so we backed off and we just used Zenith Facebook page, Zenith film Twitter feed, and before that we had just the Zenith actual Twitter feed, so with the big yellow Z, and those were more manageable because you could talk more about the concept, whereas I think with the creating multiple identities, you're trying to make these people seem real, and it's difficult to do that.
Anything else? And one thing it's obviously important to keep mentioning is that this was done really with pretty much no budget or very little. So it's kind of easy for a big company to do this who can just throw money at things. And like you said, probably easy to create 5,000 fake personalities if you have millions to just create them. So we had really to come up with ideas how to do things that could be interesting without resources, and I think that was one of the big challenges. Anything else?
No, I agree with Jen. I would say if I was to do this again, I think in a way it's neat that there's so much content online, and that is what I think is impressive about it. But managing making static pages is different than managing 50 blogs or 50 fake profiles, for example. So I think that's one thing to really keep in mind to do this again, would be to have one site that is kind of the main site that's being managed, and have all these other sites be kind of static, because it's very difficult to manage more than one or two or three sites. The rest should just be kind of static and standalone, but interesting.
Cool. Do you want to say something?
How was it for you? You work with the big guys.
Really difficult. It's really hard to work without any money. But I do think that if if we had more time, more people, and without budgets, with the right partnerships, I think you can do more. We saw that with Above Top Secret. If we had the effort behind reaching out to more people like that, maybe outside of conspiracy, who knows, like that can prove really valuable without having to spend a dime.
Yeah, I think that we definitely did a really great job with what we were working with. I mean, it's a film about a very underground type of future that there's it's bleak. It's there's no money. There's everybody's doing what they can to get by, and we kind of, I think, almost mirrored that in our very guerrilla approach to here we had all these websites and all this stuff, these wonderful gadgets, but in the end we were working with no budget, and we still made it happen. We still made all these plans, and we were very, I think, organized and concentrated on what we were doing.
It looks as good.
I
I think Ken
Sure.
and Lisa and those guys put together, a product that looks as good as something that a major studio could have put together using a high-end agency. So.
And
No comment. I'm learning myself by hearing all of this, because I was just a guy who showed up on the set, and no. So it's interesting, the sort of fragmentation of communication that's going on in the world, and how information gets to people in many different venues. I mean, with me, I'm just texting on my cell phone, but I mean, all of this other stuff is happening in the real world and in real time. It makes you wonder with some of these websites on the internet, who's real and who's not. I mean, it would be easy to really fake it and to get information, just in terms of who you are, not necessarily your bank account, but who you are as a person by responding to some of these blogs. It's the whole communications industry is just exploding as far as I can see, with new devices and and smart people like we have here creating these environments and these worlds. To me, Ed Crowley's just a locksmith. DeVrock Priest a locksmith. These guys have put together his kind of inner being that I had no idea about.
Nobody really does.
Yeah.
Ed Crowley's a mystery. All right. Any final thoughts? No?
I like that spin move. That was
Yeah. Do it again.
Cool.
All right.
Great.
Cool.